Hi everyone, it's Vicky from Let's Create a Gift and Crochet Collective. Today we're going to be joining granny squares together, either by sewing together or by crocheting together. It's really down to personal preference. They all have their pros and cons. Sewing together is really easy, but it does leave you with some ends to weave in, which is a bit that everybody hates. I don't mind it too much because I tend to crochet over my joins, but if you've got all of your squares ready to go, sewing them together is really quick. And then at the end of the video, I'll show you how to do two different ways of joining together using your crochet hook, which is either crocheting as you go or you can single crochet them together. So starting off with the easiest way to do it is if you've got your squares. It does help if your squares are the same colour, or if you're putting a border around them, you then want to use whatever yarn either matches the border or matches the square that you're making. So I'll start off, just do a slip stitch on the other end of my yarn like that. Go through the centre. Now obviously you can start this anywhere. Through the hole in a corner and then through your slip stitch and pull that tight. It's nice and securely on the corner. Then what you want to do is get your other square. It's helpful if you've got your right sides together. So you've got your wrong side and your wrong side facing outwards. This will then mean that the stitching is consistent all the way around. Or you would do for sewing them together, so this is whip stitch, which is also great if you join in things like amigurumi. Go through the hole where you've joined, pull your needle through, and that's your first one. This loose end here, you would then weave that in at the end, but you can place it over the top. So what you've got to do is go through, you're going through the V's, so you're going through the stitches. So through that one, and then through the corresponding V on the other side. It's really important that you don't miss any V stitches, because you'll get to the end and you'll have got to the corner on one piece, but you might still be only part way down on the other, and it'll leave it wonky. So then again, your needle is now on the side closest to you. You're just going to go over to the next one, so that's our next stitch. And then the next stitch on the one closest to us is this one, so you can see your yarn coming out of that one. So you want this one next to it. There we go. Pull your needle through. Just going to move that out of the way in this instance, otherwise it's going to get in the way of the video. And pull. You're going to do that all the way along. Now when you get to the space, you can either go through the space or go through the stitches. If I'm whip stitching, I like to go through the stitches. And then you can't see it in the space. Okay? So you would do that all the way along, through the V's on both sides. Oops. Now you could do this in the continuous pattern, which at the end of the video, I'll show you my drawing for how you can work around them. And you could do it continuously. However, that doesn't really work when you're sewing them together, because obviously you couldn't get a piece of yarn long enough to be able to go all the way around a whole blanket, for example. So that is another downside of sewing them together. It is quickest, it is easiest, but you're going to have a lot of ends to weave in, and you've probably already got a lot of ends on your granny squares as well, if you haven't worked over them. So I'll just quickly go all the way to the end with this, flying now. And then when you get to the end, you would either join your next square, if you've got, a big pile of them ready-made, or in this case, because I haven't got them all ready-made, as you go through that last one, through the corner, you would tie it, and then for weaving your ends in, this applies to anything, just go up and down a couple of times, and then I tend to go just back down, through some stitches and cut that off. So it just gives you a nice neat join, and you don't have to add borders to anything. Really good if the adjoining squares are all the same colour and you're not using a border. And as you can see, it does lay quite flat, and it keeps them very, very tight together as well. So you have a nice sort of obvious seam down there. Really quick, easy way to join all your squares together. So instead of sewing together, you can also crochet them together, which is a method that I quite like. Probably should have left that undone a bit so I could show you, but if you're crocheting them together, there's two ways you can do it. This way I've done here is the join as you go method. So I'll just undo this, because I will show you how to do it. And as you can see, it leaves it a bit more open, a bit more like a granny square, but it allows it to lie really flat. So it's my new favourite way of joining. I can't find my end now because I weaved it in so well. I can't now find my end. Well, I was going to show you how to crochet them together with that one, but I'll do it with this one. So, if you are wanting to join them as you go, you can do it continuously using this. So you would start, lay all your pieces out, decide where you want them all, especially if they're all a little bit different. And then you would crochet them together in this pattern. So you would go all around your first square, 3 sides, join it to your second square and continue your border, join it to your third square and continue down one side, and then you would join this edge of your next pieces, however wide your crochet piece is, all the way up along that side, so you've got the same amount on each side. And then you'll continue exactly the same as you did in the first row for as many rows as you've got. So by doing the top edge, the side edge and the bottom edge, and then joining to the next one. Then when you get all the way to the end of your blanket and you've come down to this last side, you've no more to do on this side, you would then come all the way back down the edge and all the way back up to your first corner. You would then have joins, one continuous crochet join, so it's great if you've got a big ball, you don't have to do any sewing in. So for joining together that way, this would also work for single crocheting them together as well if you wanted to keep going continuously. So if we are single crocheting them together, I'll show you this way first because this is the quickest, and then I'll show you the continuous join. So you would join in the corner of your squares, and just like we did with sewing them in, you have to make sure you're going through both stitches on the front and the back, yarn over, pull through, and single crochet or double crochet if you're in the UK. Move to your next stitch, so there's that one there, the same on the back one. Really important that you make sure these are lined up and keep going. Now when you get to the space this time, I like to go through the space, just keep them joined together really tightly, and it works well when you're single crocheting them together. Now the only, I wouldn't say it was downside, because I quite like the look that it gives, and I've had it on a few blankets that have been given to me, is that if you single crochet them all together, you will get quite an obvious seam on the back. So again, really important that when you're joining them together using single crochet is that you put your right sides together. If you can, it will just make it look much neater at the end. You won't have any squares that look like the back to front, because it'll be quite obvious there's a front and a back. And you will just do this all the way along this one, so you get to the corner. So it leaves it quite nice and tight together, just like the sewing does. But this has the advantage of not lots and lots of ends to weave in, especially if you've already got all your squares ready made and know what order you're doing them in. And you can follow this pattern. So you could just single crochet. In fact, no, you wouldn't follow this pattern so much. You could single crochet those together, continue with those together, continue with those together, and then you've just got the bits in between. So pros and cons to both. So that's the front side, nice and tightly, neatly joined together, but on the back it does give you a ridge. But I do quite like that. So now here is the holy grail of joining granny squares together, and once you can do it this way, it will transform your granny square making life. It doesn't just apply to granny squares, you can do it if you've done hexagons as well. Anything where you're joining all the same shape together, even triangles. So you would need your border. This is where this comes in. If you want to continuously join them all, or if like me you want to join them as and when you feel like it, or as and when you've made them, this is the way to do it. So I'll just undo so I can show you from the beginning. So I've got my one square that's already bordered, and then this one I've just done two sides because I'm now going to granny square crochet them together. So you've got to your corner, you've got your 3 double crochets in there, or your 3 trebles if you're in the UK. Get your other square, and we're going to go through this corner. So on a corner you would normally chain 3 and then do your next 3 stitches. So we're not going to chain 3 this time, we're just going to chain 1, go through the corner, so come back through the corner, and you're going to slip stitch these together. So grab your yarn, pull it through the corner, and then pull it through the loop on your hook. That counts as another chain, and then chain 1. So you've now got a chain 1, a join in the corner with a slip stitch and a chain 1. That counts as your 3 for the corner. So now you're going to continue adding your border as you normally would. So you want your trebles, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And you want 3 of those as you would in a normal corner. Okay, so usually to get to your next space you would chain 1. We're not going to chain 1. You're going to get this corresponding space on your back square that's already got the border, and you're going to go through this gap. So go through, pick up your yarn so it's on your hook, and then you're going to slip stitch through the loop on your hook, and then do your 3 trebles in your next space. So 1, 2, 3, and again no chain 1. You've already used that space, so make sure you go into the next one, otherwise you'll have wonky granny square joins. So again, through the loop and slip stitch, and then your 3 trebles again. So however big your granny square is, you need to keep going until you get to that corner space. So I'll just do that quickly now so that you haven't got a really long video. And I think this is the last one. So through, slip stitch, 3 trebles. Did this as a live in the Facebook group this morning, so it's really worth joining the Facebook group, because then if there's any videos you want to request, you can either do that in the comments here on YouTube, or you can just request them in the group, and I can often do lives a lot faster than I can get to them here. So now we're joined together. So again, through that one and slip stitch, and now we're at the corner. So do your 3 as normal now that you've joined to your back square. It's going to feel like you're wonky, you've run out of holes, but you've not. You're at the corner, and this is absolutely correct. So rather than chaining 3 and carrying on going, I still need to join to this loose corner here. So just like we did at the beginning, rather than chaining 3, we want to chain 1. You want to slip stitch through the corner oops, dropped it, slip stitch through the corner and chain 1, and that equals 3. And then do your 3 trebles, doubles in the US, there. Then you would either continue adding your border, if that's where you've got up to, or you could get your next one that would already have part of the border on. Just depends how you've been making your squares. So with that, you get no rise, you get no obvious seam, front or back. It doesn't leave these joined together, so it leaves it with the holes in, just like the rest of your squares. So I do quite like this one. It's definitely my favourite way to join granny squares, now that I've learned how to do it. And it means no ends to weave in. If you're doing them all together, you can just sit with your ball of wool, adding your borders and crocheting them all together. If needs be, I can make some more squares and I can actually show this in a video. With 9, it would probably take about half an hour maybe to do this. So I'll set some time aside and I can do that if that's something that's wanted. Just pop it in the comments below. Do me a massive favour, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and also subscribe if you're not already subscribing. Spur me on, keep making some videos for you. That's my phone beeping, my watch beeping, telling me to get up and do some moving. So according to my watch, I can't just sit and crochet all day, but we'll see about that. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come and join us over on Facebook if you're on Facebook. Just search for Crochet Collective, or we're on Instagram as well. We are at Let's Create a Gift. I'll pop all the links in the description box below. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.